Hi guys, third lesson with Flipped Classroom. It's on outcome, sample space and events. Just a few definitions that we're going to go through. So an outcome is a result of an experiment. An experiment means any action that can have a number of possible results. But which result will actually occur cannot be predicted until with certainty prior to the experiment. So if I'm tossing a coin, I know that I've got two outcomes that are possible, heads or tails, but I won't know which one until the experiment has been completed. The set of all possible outcomes of an experiment is the sample space or the outcome space. A set of outcomes or subset of the sample space is an event. So if I was to toss a coin, the sample space is heads or tails. If I was then to consider the probabilities of that sample space, the probability of rolling a head is a half or 0.5, and the probability of rolling a tail is 0.5 or 50%. If I was to roll a dice, I've got 5 different outcomes from 1 to 6, all with the probability of 1/6, 1 out of 6. If I was to toss 3 coins, a quarter, a dime and a nickel together, the sample space is as follows. So my first coin can land on heads, my second coin could land on heads, my third coin could land on heads. Or I could have my first 2 coins landing on heads and my second one landing on tails. I could have my first and last on heads and my middle one on tails, etc. Okay? We can then say that the likelihood of any of these 8 outcomes is 1 out of 8. They're all equally likely to happen. Again, if I toss a quarter, a dime and a nickel together and concentrate only on the number of heads, the sample space now is 0 heads, 1 head, 2 head or 3 heads. Are these equally likely? So a little thought would convince us otherwise. So if I was to look at the chances of it being 0 heads, then I only have TTT, which is only one outcome. If I was to look at just 1 head, then I can have 3 different outcomes that are all 1 head. HTT, THT or TTH. If I wanted 2 heads, again I have 3 outcomes. If I wanted 3 heads, I only have 1 outcome. So it's far more likely to get a 1 head or 2 head as opposed to 0 and 3. The probability of getting 0 heads and 3 heads is 1/8. The probability of getting 1 head or 2 heads is 3/8. Okay, so in this current example, I'm just going to enlarge it so the box is bigger and easier to write in. So for this example, we're trying to show the following events from throwing 2 normal dice. So if I throw 2 normal dice, then I can land, the first one could land on 1, the second one could land on 1, the first one could land on 1, the second one could land on 2, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to now consider all the different outcomes and see when they are the same. So my answer to A, I'm going to list them. I'm going to put the D for double, so that both dice are the same. And I can have a 1 and a 1, or I could have a 2 and a 2, or I could have a 3 and a 3, or I could have a 4 and a 4, or I could have a 5 and a 5, or I could have a 6 and a 6. So they're my different outcomes, which all satisfy the event of having the same, okay, or a double. Part B. This time we're trying to add up a total of 8. So when I roll 2 dice, the numbers that are facing up both add up to 8. Okay, so I'm going to call it T8. Chances of that are, the outcomes for that, are I can have 2 and 6. I could have a 3 and a 5. I could have a 4 and a 4. Or I can do the reverse, a 5 and a 3. So where my first one is on a 5 this time, my second one's a 3. Or I could have my first one a 6 this time and my second one a 2. So there's 5 different outcomes, all satisfying the event total of 8. And then the last one, C, I want to combine them. I want it to be a double or a total. So the last day when we were looking at set notation and Venn diagrams, we know that or is the union. So I want it to be the double union a total of 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my two sets above. So this is kind of going to go off the page, but anyway, 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6, 2 and 6, because this is my total of 8, 3 and 5, 4 and 4, 5 and 3, and last 6 and 2. So there are my list of outcomes for those different types of events. Okay, so I think everybody should understand what an outcome is, what a sample space is, and what an event is. So when I'm rolling when I'm rolling 2 dice, when I'm rolling normal 2 dice, an outcome would be something like 1-1 or 2-2. An event would be something like when I throw a double, or when I throw the 2 and they add to 8. And then the sample space is all the different types of outcomes that I could have. So for example, 1 and 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, and if I was to do all of that in a table, I would end up with 36 different outcomes. And that's basically the difference between the 3 terms. Okay, I'd like you now to give page 88 questions 1 to, maybe try and go as far as 1 to 6, and then we'll finish the hard ones in class tomorrow. Thanks, guys.